Alright my fellow agents, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and today my friends I'm going to continue this series at the channel where I revisit a few of my go-to builds that I'm currently using in the game, and today I will be highlighting a legendary skill build, a few Heartbreaker builds, as well as a Pestilence build. Now this happens to be a series I put together every 3 or 4 weeks, and I just combined some of my most recent build videos into one video, and the main reason I mention this as we start the video off is I never want to waste your time here, so chances are if you've seen any of my build videos over the last month, you already know the build breakdowns I'm about to show you, but for everyone else, I hope this helps you out. Now, as I said previously, a lot of you reach out saying you do enjoy the series, and it's something I'll do once, like I said, every 3 or 4 weeks. That is going to do it for this introduction, my friends. Now, I will leave timestamps in the video description, that way you can bounce in between the builds anytime you want. Thank you so much for your incredible support. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address, and with that being said, let's cut right to the footage. Now, starting with the specialization for all 3 builds, I'm using Technician. And we're doing that for the following reasons. You get that extra skill tier. You also get an extra 12% damage bonus to drone skill proxies and robotics. This specialization is also going to give you access to the talent overclocked CPU, which is going to give you an extra 10% skill damage. And please remember to make sure you have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. I always mention that because people forget to do that. Then you're leaving weapon damage on the table. Now when it comes to the primary weapon for all 3 versions of the build you're about to see, I'm using the Harmony Rifle. This is a PvP exclusive. You can also get it from named caches, and the reason this is so effective is because it has the talent perfectly in sync. Hitting an enemy is going to grant 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds as well. And not only that, damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time, which should be running pretty much non-stop with this weapon. As far as the secondary is concerned, you can see I'm using the capacitor, and for the record, you could use this as your primary and the Harmony could be your secondary. Totally up to you, my friends. Now this is one of the best exotics in the game. It is great for skill builds, hybrid builds, all that good stuff. Now you can see it has the talent capacitance. Shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack is going to grant 1.5% skill damage, and you can also see for every skill tier you have equipped, you're also going to get an extra 7.5% weapon damage as well, which means because we're sitting at skill tier 6, we get an extra 45% weapon damage on our weapons right off the rip. Now that does bring me to one very important detail when it comes to your sidearm. If you happen to use the TDI card, you can see it has a skill tier on it. But to be very clear, that skill tier is only going to be active when the weapon is in your hand, so please make sure you take that into consideration when you're putting your build together. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see we're running 3 Empress International, 1 Murakami, the Waveform holster, and 1 piece of Wyvern, which is what we're starting with. Now having this equipped is going to give us an extra 8% skill damage, and because we have the Technician specialization, that also means I can re-roll that core attribute to armor for a little more survivability. Moving on to the body armor, it's the first of 3 pieces of Empress. We're running 3 for all of the brand set bonuses, which as you can see are 10% skill health, 10% skill damage, and 8% skill efficiency. I'm also using the talent Kinetic Momentum. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1.5% and your total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill. Another great option is Glass Cannon. If you want to roll with that, I will show you a version of a build with that in a moment. Moving on to the holster, you can see it's the Waveform with its talent Alternating Current. Generate a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, capping at 10 stacks. After 10 seconds at the cap, the stacks transfer to your other skill. The process then repeats non-stop. And for those of you out there who are trying to get this holster, it is in the general loot pool. You can farm Countdown, you could farm the Summit, you could also play Retaliation and target farm that as well. I'll be talking about that more at the end of the video. Continuing on to the holster, you can see it's the 1 piece of Murakami. That's going to give us an extra 15% skill duration, but the main reason I'm using these is because they are the named knee pads Emperor's Guard, and that's going to give us that middle attribute 1% armor regen, which I definitely like because this build is, a little bit squishy. Now these knee pads, like the Harmony Rifle, can also be found in PvP or named caches as well. Last but not least, we have the gloves and the backpack. They are the final 2 pieces of the Empress International brand set. And for the backpack, you can see I'm using the Talent Tech Support. Skill kills increase your total skill damage by 25% for 25 seconds, which is an absolute lifetime in this game. So my friends, let your skills do the work, so that talent should be running pretty much non-stop as well. Now moving on to the second skill build of this video, you can see we are rolling with 3 Empress International, 1 Wyvern, and what I've done is I've swapped out the body armor and the backpack for 2 pieces of Hannah U, because with those brand set bonuses, we're going to get that extra 10% skill haste, 10% skill damage. And as you can see for this build, I'm using that Talent Glass Cannon. All damage you deal is amplified by 20%. However, all damage you take is amplified by 50%. So please make sure you keep your head on a swivel. You do not want to get flanked when you're rolling with that talent. When it comes to the backpack, I'm using the named Hannah U bag, the Force Multiplier, with its Talent Perfect combined arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. Which finally, my friends, takes us to the last build I'll be highlighting today, and as you can see, I kept the 2 pieces of Hannah U, but all the other gear was switched to the Refactor gear set. And we are running 4, so we get all of the gear set bonuses: 2 pieces 15% status effects, 3 pieces 25% skill damage, 4 pieces return to sender, receive repairs of 10% of the damage dealt by your skills, and your allies receive repairs of 20% of the damage dealt by your skills as well. Now, one thing you hear me mention in every build video I post here at the channel is I say that, always remember this is just a template. The most important thing is to take your time, make a build your own. And as someone who plays this game solo 95% of the time, this is how I use this gear set. However, if you happen to roll in a group, you may want to use the gear set body armor or backpack. So just do some research, make this build your own. Please, for the love of everything, do not use this build in Countdown, because if you do, when you get to the end, you're going to face the hunters, they're going to hack your skills, you're going to murder everyone around you, then no one wants to play with you. So don't make that mistake. And I know that may sound harsh, but it's a PSA I gotta put out there, my friends. As far as the skills are concerned, I am using the same ones for all 3 builds. They are the Assault Drone and the Assault Turret. I'd also like to mention in the gameplay footage you're about to see, I do not have any global modifiers active whatsoever. And the reason for that is I want to ensure that whenever you see this video, you know exactly what this build can do without any special events going on. Hope this helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. Now, as far as the specialization is concerned, for both versions of the build you're about to see, we are using Technician, and there are 2 main reasons for that. First of all, it gives you access to the linked laser pointer, and you can equip that to any long-barreled weapon, and that is going to automatically pulse every single enemy you target, and that comes into play with the talent on our weapon in our gear set. Now, the other benefit of this specialization is that it also gives you access to the Artificer Hive, and that is going to increase your shield efficiency and duration. And for those of you out there who have no idea how this thing works, I promise to give you a breakdown when we get to the gameplay footage. Last but not least, I want to pass along the friendly reminder that you have to have the rifle activated in your weapon skill tree to have access to that linked laser pointer. Then the other 2 weapons are going to be your primary and secondary. Now, as far as your primary is concerned, you have so many different options, right? I mean, you're going to see one version of this build with the Lexington. Another great option is the Kingbreaker. And when we compare these weapons side by side, you're going to notice a few major differences. Now, when we look at the Lexington, you can see its RPM is 935, total damage is 119.46. As far as the Kingbreaker is concerned, the RPM is much lower, the base damage is higher, but remember the Kingbreaker has the Talon Perfect Flatline, which is going to amplify weapon damage by 20% to pulsed enemies. Remember, with the linked laser pointer, that is every single enemy you target. Whereas the Lexington can only have the regular Talon Flatline attached to it, which is going to amplify weapon damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. So always remember, my friends, this is just a template. The most important thing is to take your time, make a build your own, and see which one you enjoy using more. Now, as far as the secondary is concerned, you can see I'm using the Stack Broker. This was granted out by the game a little while back. Hopefully you do have one in your inventory. Now, the reason we're using this is because it has a much faster RPM, and that is going to help you build those stacks for Heartbreaker at a much faster rate. And as far as the sidearm is concerned, you can see I'm using the Quick Step because it has the Talon Sport mode, which is going to increase my movement speed by 20% anytime I'm holding this weapon. And that's one of the reasons you're seeing agents being able to rip around the map as quickly as they are. It's because of that talent. So hopefully during the last event, you were able to pick one up. Now making our way to the gear itself, you can see we're running 3 Heartbreaker, 2 of the new unit alloys brand set, as well as the Ninja Bike backpack. Now most of you know exactly how this thing works, but if you don't, you can see it has the Talent Resourceful. Slots in with any equipped gear set and or brand set item to fulfill a requirement towards unlocking a gear set's bonus. Now that simply means, despite only having 3 pieces of the Heartbreaker gear set equipped, we do get the 4-piece bonus. You can see 2 pieces 15% assault rifle and LMG damage, 3 pieces 15% weapon handling, and 4 pieces Heartstopper. Headshots are going to apply pulse for 5 seconds, but remember, because we have that linked laser pointer equipped, that is going to pulse every single enemy we target, and I'll circle back to that topic at the end of the build breakdown. Continuing on, you can see weapon hits on pulsed enemies adds a stack of 1% bonus armor and 1.1% weapon damage up to a max of 50 stacks. Moving on to the body armor, it's the first of 2 pieces of the unit alloys brand set, but once again, because of the Ninja Bike, we do get all of the brand set bonuses. They are 5% rate of fire, 20% assault rifle damage, and 50% magazine size. You will also notice I'm using the named body armor, the Equalizer, because it has the Talon Perfect Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 24 times. Next, we have the holster, second piece of unit alloys. This is the named holster, the Salvo. And we are using this for that middle attribute, 5% rate of fire. So just by equipping this holster by itself, you're getting an extra 10% rate of fire, which you're really going to notice when you're actually using different weapons in the game. As far as the knee pads and the gloves are concerned, final 2 pieces of the Heartbreaker gear set. You'll notice I'm stacking crit hit chance and crit hit damage everywhere I can. Now, as promised, at this point, I want to show you another variation really quick. What I'm going to do is the following. We are going to put on a piece of Heartbreaker for the backpack. We are going to switch the knee pads to a second piece of the unit alloys. Then we're going to change the body armor to a piece of Heartbreaker, as you can see. Now, the reason we're making this change is because when we have the Heartbreaker body armor equipped, we have access to the Talent Max BPM, and that is going to increase max stacks for Heartstopper from 50 to 100. As I said a moment ago, our holster and the knee pads are going to be the 2 pieces of the unit alloys brand set. And finally, when we make our way to the backpack, once again, because we are wearing a Heartbreaker bag, we're going to have access to the Talon Cold, and that increases the bonus armor gain per stack of Heartstopper from 1% to 2%. And for the record, in the gameplay footage you are about to see, I'm going to use the following build. We are going to have the Kingbreaker as the primary, Stack Broker as the secondary. We're going to have this exact layout you're looking at right now, 4 pieces of the Heartbreaker gear set. We have the Unit Alloys holster, Unit Alloys knee pads. As far as my skills are concerned, I'm using the Crusader Shield and the Artificer Hive. Last but not least, I want to mention the fact that in the gameplay footage you're looking at right now, I do not have any global modifiers active whatsoever, and the reason for that is I want to ensure that whenever you see this video, you know exactly what the build can do without any special events. Hope this helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can.
need you to kill those cleaners.
Agent, hostiles are moving into Brooklyn Heights.
We'll bury our dead and move the supplies you recovered back to the bridge. We'll find Dan.
All right, I gotta unmute my microphone for this one. This should be illegal. 5.9% crit hit chance, and the max is 6%. Why do that to a player? I don't get that. That's just pure evil. Let me know in the comment section how many times have you gotten something like that. That's 0.1% from its max. Anyway, see you soon, agents. Now, as always, we're going to jump right into the details, and if you happen to enjoy this, do me a favor and hit that like button. It truly helps the channel out. And if you want to stay up to speed on all things Division, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button as well. Now, starting with the specialization, you can see I'm using Gunner, and I've chosen that for three main reasons. First of all, you get that extra reload speed increase. You also have access to the Banshee Pulse. You will get some extra rate of fire upon kill. And always remember, regardless of the specialization you choose, have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree, as that is going to give you an extra 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. And the reason I say that is because a lot of players out there use the same template for different builds, and if you don't switch your weapon, you're leaving weapon damage on the table. Now, as you can see, my primary weapon for this build is the Pestilence, and I gotta tell you, over the last year, this has become pretty much my go-to weapon in the game. The reason it is so effective is because of its talent, Plague of the Outcast. It's applied to buff, dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds. This is going to stack up to 50 times, and whenever an enemy dies with this debuff, 100% of the stacks are transferred to a nearby enemy within 25 meters. Now, as far as the secondary and sidearm is concerned, it's totally up to you. You can use what you want. However, when it comes to the sidearm, if you have the quick step, I recommend using that because remember, when that weapon is in your hand, you have an extra 20% movement speed bonus. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see we're running 3 Langmo, 1 Cheska, 1 unit alloys, and the Overdog's gloves. Now, starting with the mask, it's the first of 3 pieces of Langmo, and we're using 3 because we're targeting that third brand set bonus, which is 30% LMG damage. That now takes us to the body armor, which is the second piece of Langmo, and we're using the talent Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. Another great option is the Talent Glass Cannon if you want to roll with that. Continuing on to the holster, it's the one piece of unit alloys, and just by having this named holster, the salvo, equipped, we're getting an extra 10% rate of fire. That's 5% for the brand set bonus and 5% for that metal attribute. Next we have the knee pads. It's the one piece of Cheska, and as you can see they are the turmoil knee pads with the talent Bewildered. When dealing weapon damage to an enemy, 50% of the damage will be dealt to another enemy within 30 meters instead. When there are no other enemies nearby, deal damage normally. Now moving on to the gloves, you can see they are the Overdogs, and these have quickly become one of the most popular exotics in the game because you can use them for so many different builds. Now the reason these are so effective is because of the talent Weakest Link, and that is going to amplify weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranking enemy currently in combat as per the tier hierarchy. And if you do not have these gloves, I just recommend switching it for Contractor's gloves. I can promise you these will still get the job done. And for those of you out there who are trying to get the Overdogs gloves, thankfully they are in the general loot pool, so if you're trying to get these, you can farm for them anywhere the gloves are the targeted loot. You can hit up Countdown, you can hit up the Summit, you could play Retaliation. Totally up to you, my friends. Last but not least, we have the backpack, and as you can see, it is the third and final piece of Langmo. We're rolling with the Backbone backpack, as this is going to give you access to the talent Perfectly Unstoppable Force. Killing an enemy increases total weapon damage by 7% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. As far as the skills are concerned, for this build I'm using the Healer Drone as well as the Banshee Pulse. When we take a look at the numbers, I'm sitting at 60% crit hit chance, remember that's the max, and 129 crit hit damage. Remember those numbers are going to be dependent on not only the gear I have equipped, but having a Shade Watch of level 1000. Last but not least, I want to mention the fact that in the gameplay footage you're about to see, I do not have any global modifiers active whatsoever, and the reason for that is I want to ensure that whenever you see this video, you know exactly what the build can do without any special events going on. Hope this helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Watch out. There's a kill squad in the area. Kill squad down.
Heavily armored hostile detected. The civilians are safe for now.